Hey guys, I'm Abhi, and in today's video we're going to talk about Git and GitHub and how you can use GitHub to start contributing to open source. So let's get started. Alright, to understand Git and GitHub, first you need to understand what version control is, right? So a version control system is basically used to control the state of the program and source code of your software, right? Software keeps changing over time. New features are added, new bugs are added, bugs are fixed. So every time you make a change, not just you, right? You will ideally be working on a team where a lot of engineers are working on the same code base and they're all making changes to some of the files, right? So there is a need for a system that actually manages all these changes and keeps track of every single change made to every single file in the code base, right? And this has numerous advantages. First of all, it enables a lot of people to work together in a single complicated code base. And more importantly, if something were to go wrong, right? Suppose your friend or your teammate released a patch where they added a bug fix for one bug, but they totally ignored the other parts, and it caused a production issue, it causes some crash in some part of your app, then you can easily revert back, right? So GitHub or Git, a version control system, will help you to keep track of changes made to these files over time, and you can easily pick any point back in time and you can move to that state so that all the status of all your files and the code will be gone back to what it was on that particular point of time. So that's why we use the version control system, right? It keeps track of all these changes. Every single change made to every single file is tracked and can be reverted and can be moved back and forth, right? That's the advantage, and that's why we use version control systems when we are working with a team on building a software in a complicated project. So yeah, that's about version control system. And now to solve this problem, many different version control systems were built, right? There is Apache, Subversion, and there is Mercurial, and there's Git. Git is supposed to be the most famous and widely used one. I don't know, it's very convenient, and a lot of companies use Git. So I think we all should learn Git, and that's the best way to go. So Git is basically an open source distributed version control system which is designed to sort of track all these changes over time, and it is super fast, super convenient. And GitHub is the most popular service that is basically an implementation of Git, right? It lets you to actually upload your files and your project source code online, and you can create a repository. Repository is basically a project on GitHub where you can start a project, an empty slate, and then you can upload your files there. It will be hosted on GitHub servers so that even if your local machine dies or goes away, you still get access to it via GitHub because it's stored on the cloud, and you can get access to your programs, and its status is tracked every single time, right? So every time you want to make changes to the program, what you can do is you can basically so there are few Git commands. I cannot go over all the commands in this video, but I'll make sure to link an article in the description below where you can learn about the various Git commands. You can also check out GitHub's documentation and get an introduction to Git. But the basic commands, like you can do git status to see the status of all your files, the files that you have modified, the files which are staged that you have to commit. So there's a concept of committing your changes, right? So for example, you uploaded your software at its initial state on GitHub, and then what you can do is when you make changes to certain files, you will first commit these changes. So you'll write a message saying, okay, I've made changes to so and so file for fixing this so and so issue, and then you'll make these commits, and you'll make plenty of commits, and then what you can do is create a pull request. All right, so in GitHub there's a concept of branches, right? So your main copy of your software, which is the version that is released, right, which will be on the master, or it's now called main. And when you're working on a new feature or a new bug fix, what you can do is you can check out a branch from the main branch. So the main branch is supposed to be stable at all times, right? So you mean that everything that is on the main branch can be released out and it is perfectly stable and it does not cause any problems. But while development, you cannot directly keep adding stuff to the main branch, right? Because it will cause production issues. What you can do is check out a branch. So there's a command called checkout, git checkout -b, and you'll give a new branch name, suppose fix so and so bug, and then you will be on a new branch which will be branched off of master. So your starting point will be that starting point of master, and then you will make all your changes to this branch, and once all your changes are ready, you can send it, you can create a pull request, right? What happens is you're basically asking the maintainers of the project or the admin to, okay, you're saying that, okay, I've made these changes and I've fixed this bug, and this is my branch, please check it out, and if it looks good, they can merge it to master, right? So then your admins and your code maintainers will actually review your code. They can review a pull request, they can suggest you to make some changes on that pull request, or they can approve it, right? So once it's approved, they can actually go and merge it to the master branch. So your changes and your branch is finally merged with master, and it is ready to go out to the release, right? So that's how the process works. So if you pick up any open source project, for example, right, you can go to GitHub, open the page of your favorite open source project, and you can start looking for issues, right? There's an issues tab on GitHub. So you'll go to the issues tab, and there'll be a list of issues that people have added, and they can be labeled. So you need to find a good beginner issue. For example, very small issues like maybe documentation fixes or small bug fixes, right? There is thing called labels on GitHub. So you can look at these labels in different colors. There'll be a label for beginner friendly issues and complicated issues and so and so on. So basically you'll find some beginner friendly issues that you can, and there'll be a description, right? So there'll be a description. Most often there'll also be a solution, right? An approach that you can take to solve this problem. So you can take any beginner friendly issue and try to, solve it. Check out, first of all, you need to clone that. One of the most commonly used commands of Git is going to be git clone. So you'll take that repository URL and you can do git clone and put that URL in your terminal, and your computer will actually clone that repository on your local machine, and then you can sort of check out and start exploring and start solving that problem. Check out your branch and add your code and fix that issue, whatever you're trying to fix, and then you'll commit all your changes, and then you'll push it to the origin. So that command is called git push. So you'll push it back to the origin, you'll create the pull request, and basically then get your pull request reviewed, and once it's reviewed, you can get it merged, and your code will then be deployed to the actual next release, right? So that's the whole process, and GitHub makes it very convenient for huge teams to collaborate on projects. You don't have to be in the same office or whatever. You can collaborate from anywhere in the world. All you have to do is check out your branch, add your code, add your changes, then push it, create a pull request, and get it reviewed. So the code maintainers are responsible to review every single pull request that gets merged, right? Because they cannot imagine if your favorite framework, if anyone could make changes to it, right? It basically wouldn't work anymore. It would just break down all the time. So the code maintainers and the admins on the project have the power to merge the branches and to review your pull requests, right? So they will review your pull request, and they will make sure that there's no issue in that will create other issues, or you are actually fixing what you're trying to fix, and it meets the code quality standards and all that. They can also comment on your pull request saying, hey, can you please change this? Can you please do it the way we are doing it? There's often these standards and conventions that come into play. So these code maintainers are going to help you. They'll review your PR and they will make suggestions, and this actually makes you a better engineer. You read these comments and these suggestions because these are most likely senior people, right? And you listen to what they're saying, and you improve your code and you improve your skill in this way. And then finally, when you're all done, your PR is approved, and then your pull requests get actually merged, and your code finally goes live in production. So it's a great feeling when you do your first open source contribution, and I would suggest just find some beginner friendly issues and start contributing, and let me know in the comments down below about your first open source contribution. Okay, so the reason why college students should actually focus on open source contribution is that it really helps you to get real world experience of software development, right? Maybe you don't have the experience to get an internship or to get a real job where you're working on a real project, which is a real product that millions of people use, right? So open source gives you a real opportunity to work on something that is a real live project, and it's a huge complicated project with tons of contributors, and you get to know how to actually work in a team and to work on a sophisticated code base, which is a huge code base, and to learn how to navigate your way throughout the code base, to understand how it works. To make a contribution, you need to first understand how it's working, right? Only then you can probably make it work on your local, and then you can add changes and make changes and add your contributions. So it's a whole learning process, right? You will learn a lot. You will learn how to use version control. You will learn how to work in a team. You will learn how to work on a real product where there are a lot of people contributing, and you will learn and your coding skills will improve as well, right? Because there'll be senior folks who will be mentoring you and guiding you to improve your coding skills. So I think it's a really great opportunity for you to learn how real software development is even before getting a job. So that's why it's the best place for students to learn real software development. So you should definitely try contributing to open source.